I have a question for you guys. Which is the better return? A 5% return or a 12% return? Go ahead, leave your answer in the comments. I'll wait. Welcome back, everybody. I'm David Pere, and before we get too crazy here, don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell so that you'll be notified when new videos post. The answer is that it depends. I left out one crucial factor: time. Obviously, if we invest the same amount of money for the same period of time, a 12% return is better than a 5% return. But what if we can receive the 5% return in less than 2 weeks, but the 12% return is annual? Well, in that case, a 5% return would obviously be better. And let me show you. A couple months ago, I had a buddy reach out, and he's got a business, and he said, hey, something went up with my PayPal, whatever the case may be. Can I borrow $2,000? I'll repay you in a week. I was like, yeah, sure, man. I trust you. No worries. So I give him $1,000. Actually, it was $2,000. And he returned it. It was like 8 days later, $2,100. So a measly little 5% return, but in 2 weeks. And I'll show you here in a minute what that looks like had it been over the course of a year. The velocity of money is the speed at which money works for you. When investing, you always want to calculate how long it will take for your investment to return. The faster it returns, the faster you can deploy it. So as I said, 2 months ago, friend let me borrow some, or I lent him borrow some money. He brought it back. So 5% return in 8 days. Now I understand this isn't necessarily a scalable story, but, and I'm not earning 5% as interest every 8 days. But this is a perfect example of the velocity of money. If I had been able to lock that money in a CD for 12 months, I wouldn't be able to see it for a year. Not to mention that even a 20% return over a year would not compare to 5% back in just over a week. Now, obviously, there are many factors to consider when you're investing money, and they can be boiled down to 3 simple questions. What's the return on investment? What is the risk? And how long will it take me to get this return? And there's a lot of different factors, but what I like to look at is, so the return. What is the return on your investment? This is arguably the most important piece of this equation, or at least it's the one people focus on, because you want to know, if I give you this amount of money, how much am I going to get back? Everybody just wants to know, what's my return going to be? The higher the return on investment, the better. So you want to make sure that you understand if it's an annualized return on investment, which is most common, or a percentage paid by the end of the period, which is pretty sweet if you can score that on a short-term investment. With risk, generally speaking, the higher a return on investment is, the higher the risk, or the riskier the investment. Why would a bank pay you 30% interest for something that is guaranteed, like a savings account? It just doesn't make any sense, because they'll pay you 1% and you'll take it. This is the reason you must conduct due diligence on your investments. You want to know the ins and outs of the investment. Is the return guaranteed, or is it borderline gambling? What industry is the investment in? Are you familiar with the industry? Ultimately, you want to mitigate risks as much as possible, but rather than mitigating all risk, your goal is to mitigate as much as possible in order to justify the return on investment that you're receiving. The next point here is opportunity cost, which is a fancy way of talking about lost time. Time is the velocity of money. You can't have a velocity without time. Thus, the opportunity cost is why you need to worry about the velocity of money, or the lack thereof. Opportunity cost is putting yourself in the mindset of sitting down 10 to 20 to 30 years from now and thinking of, man, what could have been if I had done X? And that's your opportunity cost. If you'd done whatever, what would be now? What if, some examples of this are, what if I had started contributing to my 401k earlier? That's one I have. What if I had bought more rental properties? Okay. What if I hadn't blown all my money on a Mustang when I was 20 years old? That's a common one for military guys. Every time you fail to invest, you miss out on future returns and compounding results. Similarly, if you invest in a low interest, long-term investment, it'll slow you down drastically because your money is stuck there. This is still better than not investing at all, but it really won't build the wealth that you desire. This is why I like the rule of 72. So the rule of 72 is a simple calculation used by math guys, accounting guys, whatever, to determine how fast your money will double. Basically what it is whatever interest rate you're getting, you divide the number 72 by the number of that interest rate, and it'll tell you how many years it'll take for your money to double. For example, 72 divided by 10% return is 7.2 years to double, whereas 72 divided by a 3% return takes 24 years to double. And I have a couple other examples throughout the article, but you get the point. So if you look at a 3% return takes 24 years to double and a 4% return takes 18 years to double, it'll show you that going from a 3 to 4% return will literally double your money 6 years sooner. And that is the power of the velocity of money and understanding it. And that's why you need to understand the velocity of money. So this is just a really easy tool to calculate how fast your money will double and interest rates. For liquidity, this is just kind of a final factor that you want to have. You want to understand how liquid your investment is. A mediocre return is all right between investments, but you don't want to be stuck with a mediocre return. So if you leave your money in a CD that only earns 2% return, and it's like a 6-year CD, you can't do anything else with that. Whereas if you had it in a high interest savings account, like a 2% return savings account, well, it's still a low return, but you can pull that money out the moment you have a better opportunity in front of you. So that is pretty understanding liquidity and making sure that if you have a low interest account, you can pull your money out when a better opportunity presents itself. It will also help you out with the velocity of money. All right, so you need to understand how to pull your money out of an investment before you get involved. So return, risk, and time. These three factors are crucial to determining whether or not an investment is worth your time. You need to be able to quickly analyze what your return on investment will be, how at risk your money is, and how long it will take you to receive this return. You can answer these questions with a little research and asking the right questions. But if an opportunity presents itself and they can't answer these three questions for you, I would venture to suggest it's just not a good investment opportunity. Now that you understand how the velocity of money can affect your future, you need to find ways to constantly improve it. The faster your money returns, the faster you can reinvest it elsewhere to build wealth exponentially. Thanks for checking out my video, whether you're watching it on Facebook or on YouTube in a couple weeks. I appreciate the fact that you guys understand that I had to do it this way and not super legit because I'm moving and all my stuff is torn down. But understand the velocity of money. It's very important. Also, see the little pillow back there? It's subliminal, but you should do it. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks, guys.